March 29. Here's everything you need to know to stay up to date with all things Dallas Cowboys. Today's top stories. Eric Christian Smith, AP file, in this October 25, 2018, file photo. Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson, 4, is pressured by Miami Dolphins defensive end Robert Quinn, 94, during the second half of an NFL football game in Houston. The Dallas Cowboys have agreed to acquire defensive end Robert Quinn from the Dolphins for a 6th-round draft pick on Thursday, March 28, 2019, in a trade that would bolster the Dallas pass rush while the club works on a long-term contract for DeMarcus Lawrence. AP photo. Eric Christian Smith, file. Q. Thoughts and the new pass interference penalty rules. Scales. Now that NFL team owners have approved a one-year trial in which pass interference, whether penalized or not, can be challenged by coaches and reviewed by officials, it will be interesting to see if there is a boomerang effect, namely an increase in offensive pass interference penalties. Sure, the new rule change was prompted by the non-call of an obvious defensive pass interference penalty at the end of this year's NFC Championship game. Saints fans will go to their graves believing the non-call against Rams cornerback nickel Roby Coleman cost the Saints a trip to the Super Bowl. Saints head coach Sean Payton was at the forefront of pushing to make pass interference reviewable. By making these types of plays reviewable, the thought by NFL owners and coaches is that wrongs can be righted, presuming the head coach still has one of his two challenges available, and presuming the replay official calls for a review if there are less than 2 minutes to play in the half. But the unintended consequence, the boomerang effect, could be an increase in penalties for both offensive pass interference as well as defensive pass interference. This impacts on games because, arguably, pass interference penalties are the most punitive in all of football because defensive pass interference is a spot foul, not a predetermined number of yards. For offensive pass interference, it's 10 yards and a replay of the down. How many defensive pass interference penalties were assessed in the NFL in the 2018 regular season? A total of 230 per season for all 32 teams, which is an average of only 7.5 per team for the season. Ironically, the Saints were assessed the most defensive pass interference penalties in 2018, and the Texans, Titans, Bengals tied for the least, 4. The Cowboys were called for only 5 defensive pass interference penalties. Source: Football Database. Does not include offsetting or declined penalties. As for offensive pass interference, it's called much less often. Only 85 offensive pass interference penalties were assessed during the 2018 regular season. Source: Football Database. The Ravens led the way with 8 offensive pass interference penalties. The Cowboys were penalized twice. It will be interesting to see how many times in 2018 a challenge flag is thrown by the head coach of the team that just got burned on a deep pass, especially if the coach feels the receiver pushed off the cornerback or safety to create space to make the catch. As the sideline reporter, I'm perfectly positioned on the sideline to see the hand fighting and arm barring that is happening as receivers, cornerbacks streak down the sideline. There is a lot of aggressiveness and physicality while the pass is in the air, well before a receiver jumps up to high point the football. And from my perspective, on many plays there's just as much aggression, pushing from the receiver as from the defensive back. That's all for today. Check out sportsdaytfw.com for the latest sports news and analysis. Do you have feedback? Send your thoughts, questions, praise and corrections to sportsfeedback@dallasnews.com.